Welcome to another episode of Casual Learning. What's the deal with corn muffins? Uh, Corn muffins, if done right, are very easy to make and delicious. I've had a lot of good corn muffins in my life, and I've had a lot of bad corn muffins too. And the difference between a good and a bad corn muffin can be huge, huge. I've had store-bought corn muffins that were very spongy and it felt like or tasted like it was full of some sort of preservative. Um, a good corn muffin doesn't have a very long shelf life. It'll get stale in one day. So when you buy those corn muffins in the store, they put in additives to make sure the corn muffin has a shelf life of more than one day. Consequently, that really affects the flavor of the corn muffin, and it's just nowhere near as good as one you could make yourself. You may see boxes of a corn muffin mix from various manufacturers like Jiffy. I've never found them to be any good. They're not quite as bad as the store-made corn muffins, but they're pretty bad. They're not that good. The best corn muffins I've ever had were homemade. And a great source for a great recipe for corn muffins, you can find on the back of a cornmeal manufacturer's bag of cornmeal. So, for instance, this is Indian Head Old Fashioned Stone Ground Yellow Cornmeal. And on the back, they've got an excellent recipe to make corn muffins. It's an excellent recipe. And it's the best recipe I've run across. With one modification. They don't put enough sugar in them. They put a quarter cup of sugar, and you really should use a half a cup. Maybe even 2/3 of a cup, because the quarter cup sugar recipe, the corn muffins, they're a little dry and a little just not as sweet as they should be. But otherwise, it's an excellent recipe, and it's basically what I put up here, except for I've added more sugar. So, what is the recipe for corn muffins? Well, this is it. You basically have the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients. You prepare them separately, and then you mix them together. And then you get a batter, and then you put the batter in a cupcake pan, maybe an extra large cupcake pan, because you want bigger corn muffins. It's nicer. Bigger corn muffins are just they give you more corn muffin. They're nicer, and I like them better than the smaller cupcake size corn muffins. This is the recipe. The dry ingredients, very simple: a cup of cornmeal, a cup of flour, half a cup of sugar, tablespoon baking powder, teaspoon of salt. The wet ingredients: a cup of milk, one beaten egg, and then a quarter cup of oil, like vegetable oil. You preheat the oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, and you bake it for approximately 20 to 25 minutes on the middle rack in the oven. This makes about 6 large corn muffins. If you're using tiny cupcake pans, it may make a dozen of those smaller corn muffins. But I like to have the larger pan because the corn muffins come out better, I think. So, how do you make them? All right. Well, the first thing you do is you put together all the dry ingredients. So, I've got a bowl here, and we need a cup of cornmeal. Okay, so here's a cup. Fill it to the top. I'm never that concerned about being totally accurate. That looks like a cup to me, so throw it in there. And then we need a cup of flour. Here's my flour. I'll go in here, take my cup, get about a flour. I use the side of the container to sort of smooth the top off. And we dump that right in there, like that. So what's the remaining dry ingredients? Oh, we need a half a cup of sugar. My sugar container. I'll go with white granulated sugar. Half a cup, I'm too worried about being exactly right. So I may take my cup measure and fill it up halfway. And with the sugar, it's, you can add a little bit more to your taste. So there we go, about a half a cup. Stick that in the bowl. And then we need a teaspoon of baking powder. Now, don't forget to add the baking powder, because otherwise your muffins won't rise. Baking powder is the leavening agent. Without a leavening agent, you end up with a flat pancake. All right, so get about a teaspoon of that. I just use a regular teaspoon. Or a tablespoon. I'm sorry, this is a tablespoon. See? It's a regular tablespoon. Conveniently at the top, you can level it off. Doesn't have to be exactly right. There you go. Put that in the bowl. And then we need a teaspoon of salt. Okay, here's my salt. I forgot to bring my teaspoon with me. But that's okay, because I do that all the time. And I sort of have an idea of how much a teaspoon is. A tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. So if all you have is a tablespoon and you need a teaspoon of salt, you only need to fill this up by a third and you got your teaspoon. So I sort of eyeball it, look at it, oh, okay. That looks like it's about a third. That's a teaspoon. In the bowl it goes. Now, you take these dry ingredients. See how that's white on top because that's where I put the flour. But it's yellow on bottom. It's yellow on the bottom. See that? That's where the cornmeal is. So what you do is take a fork and mix this up and get the yellow from the bottom into the mixture and keep mixing it until all the dry ingredients are uniformly spread throughout the bowl. And you can tell with this recipe because you'll get a yellow color everywhere because the cornmeal is yellow, and when you see the yellow color everywhere, you've distributed all the dry ingredients pretty evenly throughout the bowl. Now, this recipe doesn't call for sifted flour, which is great. Makes it even easier to make. This is a fairly quick and easy recipe, and it's well worth it because these box corn muffins, they just don't compare to the real thing. And the store-bought corn muffins, oh God, hardly a corn muffin at all. This is an easy thing to do, and if you like corn muffins, you should do it, and they're delicious. All right, so that's about even. The yellow is spread throughout. All right, so now we work on our wet ingredients. So what do we need? We need a cup of milk, 1 beaten egg, 1/4 cup of oil. Now, with eggs, if you drop the egg right into the dry ingredients with the rest of the wet ingredients, you can mix it up, but you're going to have to break the egg up and distribute it. And that's somewhat problematic because it's one yolk and you got to beat the yolk up and you got to make sure it goes everywhere. So it's much easier just to beat the egg up separately, maybe with the wet ingredients before you put it in the dry ingredients. That way the egg is evenly distributed throughout the wet ingredients before you add them. So I'll take a separate bowl and I got an egg. I'll crack this egg. All right, I'll put that egg in there. And then I need a cup of milk. So I got my bowl, I got my egg in it. So I take I just take the same 1 cup measuring cup that I was using for the dry ingredients. I use that for the wet ingredients because it's a cup. So I fill that up with a cup of milk. There we go. Put that in with the egg. See, got my milk and my egg. And then what else do I need? I need a quarter cup of oil. So I got my vegetable oil. And I got a quarter cup dry measuring scoop, but you can use it for wet ingredients too. So I'll pour, be very careful, I'll pour a quarter cup in there, and then I'll stick that in the bowl with the other wet ingredients. So here's all my wet ingredients. And you could use a fork to mix this up. No problem. Or you could use, one of these little guys, a whisk. And I'll just use a whisk. And, basically just attack that egg. Attack the egg. You'll mix the rest of the wet ingredients as you're attacking the egg. So just attack that egg, and so that you don't see any more bits of deep yellow egg anywhere. So you really spread that egg throughout the entire wet ingredients. And it doesn't take that long. And the wet ingredients are, they're slightly yellow in color because of the egg. And now you're good. So it's all evenly mixed up, distributed. And then you add it. Just add it to your dry ingredients. Or just dump it in. Just like that. Easy. Then, get yourself a fork. The thing with corn muffin batter is it can be a little heavy, a little on the thick side. So I wouldn't use a whisk, because a whisk is really for very liquidy ingredients, whereas corn muffin it's a viscous sort of batter. So I would use a fork. If the batter is a little too thick, you can always add a little milk into it to loosen it up a little bit. So we get it, and just start mixing. Doesn't take that long. Get all the liquid ingredients into the dry ingredients. Make sure to scrape the bottom of the bowl to get those dry ingredients up and into the wet mixture, because otherwise they're just going to sit at the bottom and they'll never get mixed into the batter. So, and then you scrape the sides to make sure that the dry ingredients on the side also get into the batter, right? And then you just start kind of whipping it with your fork. Make it very smooth. You want it to be smooth and glossy. Smooth and glossy. And that's when you know the batter's right. Batter's right. So that's pretty. Make sure there's no dry ingredients anywhere hanging around that haven't been incorporated into the batter. But if it's smooth and glossy, like this, nice and smooth and glossy, you got it right. And this is a little thicker batter than, really thin batter, like a crepe batter. This is a little thicker batter. Maybe somewhat like a pancake batter. Maybe a tad bit thicker than that. Okay, so that's done. Doesn't take that long. Now, get yourself your pan, and this is the pan that I use. This is a 6 cupcake holder pan, but the cupcakes are bigger. It's a bigger size cupcake than a regular 12 cupcake pan. So you get a much bigger, nicer corn muffin. So you get yourself some ham baking spray. This is great stuff. In the old days you had to grease the pan with Crisco or lard, and then you have to put flour in it and shake the flour around until it covered all the lard of the Crisco, so that you had a prepared pan for baking. Well, it's messy and it's difficult and it takes time, and you get your hands get dirty. And you could do it, but this is some much easier way to do it. Baking pan, because what this essentially is it's your fat plus your flour. Perfect for making a pan non-stick for baking. So you just get your baking pan and spray each muffin hole like that. Good to go. So then you fill each of the muffin holes, and there's just different ways you can do that. An easy way to do it is just take your tablespoon and you put I would start off putting 2 tablespoons in each one of the holes, and then scrape for the rest, and maybe another tablespoon in each of the holes, if it works out that way. Because you want the amount of batter in each of the holes to be about even. But you got to be careful you don't put too much in the first holes you're filling, because then you're not going to have enough for the remaining holes. So I start off putting two tablespoons in each one. So just 1, 2, 1, 2, and you can see as I'm filling them, 2 tablespoons each. Just dropping the batter right in the middle so that it doesn't get on the sides, because it gets on the sides and it bakes on the sides and it gets stuck and your muffin ends up deformed. So just try to make sure it drops right in the middle of the muffin hole. So 2 tablespoons each, didn't take me long, got them all filled. There might be a little bit on the sides. It's not a big deal. You don't have to worry about wiping it off. So then I got some left over here, and I'm going to put the rest of this in here. So, you want to get all the batter that you can into your muffins. So you scrape the sides, and then I'll try to put another tablespoon in each one of these holes here. All right, 3. Let's see. Now see, I'm running short. So there's always more batter on the sides. You may think there's a lot, but there is actually. You just have to continuously scrape it down, tilt the bowl, scrape it down to the bottom so it pools at the bottom. That way you get it all. Then you can use a spatula for this too if you want to scrape the bowl with the spatula. It's better than a spoon. Okay, I have some more. All right, so 1, 2, 3. Okay. Get whatever else I can, put it in one of the holes, and it's a really tasty batter. Enjoy. Have your kids, put their fingers in, scrape the side of it, eat the batter that's left over. It's great. I know there's a little raw egg in there, but the chances of getting salmonella from a raw egg are almost 0. Wouldn't worry about it. Okay, so I filled all the holes, and that's how it looks. Nice, right? I can't tilt it too long; it all starts spilling out. But there you go. So then you take that, and this isn't something that you should really prepare too far in advance. Basically, you should have the oven preheated while you're making the muffins, so that by the time you're done the muffins, the oven's preheated, and then you just pop that pan right in there in the center shelf. So you go to your oven, stick it in, put the timer on for 20 minutes, check it after 20 minutes. If it needs a little bit more, you can leave it on for 25 minutes. Not 25 minutes more, but 5 minutes more. So pull your muffins out after 20, 25 minutes. And the pan's hot, so you got to use a oven mitt and put it down somewhere. And when it comes right out of the oven like this, and you put it down, you need to make sure that no condensation forms underneath the muffins, which will happen. So you got to let the steam have a way of escaping from the bottom of the muffin, so that the condensation doesn't form, and you end up with soggy muffins. With this You don't want that. So you take them out of the oven, you put them down, and then you immediately just take a fork and go on the side of each muffin and just push down and tilt the muffin up. Okay, like that. That's all I do. Just tilt it up like this, right in the pan. Even though it's hot, I'm not getting burned because I'm not touching anything. So the fork's getting burned, not me. So just tilt it like that, and then leave it alone for 10 minutes. This tilting gives the steam from the bottom of the muffin somewhere to escape, so it won't condensate and cause wetness. So you leave them like that, and then 10 minutes later, these are ready to go. And if they're, you might want to serve them warm. So whoever's eating them can cut them in half and put a slab of butter on each half, and butter melts, and you got a delicious corn muffin ready to go. You can eat them, if they're cold, you can eat them too. The butter won't melt on them, but you can certainly eat them cold. But again, these only last like a day, and then they get stale. So you should pretty much enjoy them the day you make them. Preferably, 10, 15, 20 minutes after you made them is the best time to eat them, but you can eat them that day sometime. So, another thing you do with these muffins is you can cut them in half and put a slab of butter on the top of each one of them, and then stick that on a pan underneath the broiler in your oven. Again, on the middle shelf. Put your oven on broil, and you broil them for like 2, maybe 3 minutes. If you like a lot of, burned muffin top, and then you get something that looks like this. And you got melted butter, and it's toasted on top. And this is an entirely different way of serving a corn muffin, but it's equally delicious. It's delicious. I'll take a bite. Great. All that butter, it's toasted. It's a great thing to eat at breakfast. It is. But you can also have corn muffins at dinner as sort of like a bread, and lunch even, if you want it. With a cup of coffee, something like this with a cup of coffee is great. It's a great breakfast. It's delicious. And these are great muffins. So that's that's how you make the best homemade corn muffins that I know of, that you can make for yourself. You might come across better corn muffins made at maybe a diner or a restaurant or somewhere like that. Sure, bakeries possible, but these are great homemade corn muffins, and they're very, very tasty. And if you never had a homemade corn muffin before, all you ever had is corn muffins made out of a Jiffy box. Don't kid yourself. The Jiffy box, yeah, it's made in your home technically, but it's nowhere near as good as these. Just not even close. Or God forbid, the only corn muffins you've ever had are these store-bought preservative-filled corn muffins. Those aren't even close to what I'm talking about. Or if you've never had a corn muffin before, you're missing out. They're really great. They're delicious. And very, very easy to make, and it doesn't take a lot of time to make them, and they're delicious. And whenever you make something at home with your own ingredients, it's always cheaper than if you bought it at the store or to the bakery. Who knows what you pay for 6 of these corn muffins at a bakery? You might pay $10. Make it yourself. It's what's it, $1 or $2? That's it, and they're better. They taste better. So, and you get to use your oven. If you never used your oven, here's a good excuse for using it. Okay. Yeah, if you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comment section below, and maybe I'll do a future video addressing them or answering your questions in the comments below. And please press the subscribe button below, because I know what you like. I mean, I know you liked what you heard today. How could you not? Who could not like it? I've never met anybody who didn't like a good corn muffin. Never met a single person who's ever said, I just don't like corn muffins. Not one. And I met plenty of people who've eaten these corn muffins and been like, wow, these are really good. I love them. Can I have another? All right. Take care, guys.